Welcome to the Milford School Committee meeting of February 28th. The first item on our agenda is the approval of minutes. The minutes to be approved are for the regular meeting of February 7th. I was not in attendance of that meeting, but we do have a quorum. So has everyone had an opportunity to read those minutes, and does anyone have any corrections? Seeing no corrections, take a motion from Christine, a second from Mike. All in favor of approving the minutes? Opposed? Unanimous in favor with one recusal. The next item on our agenda is our announcements, correspondence, and distributions. Did any members have any announcements, correspondence, or distributions?
I just had one. It's actually it's sort of coming somewhat secondhand. It's actually a recognition. Donnie Cotrocchio, who is not able to join the meeting tonight as he's traveling for work, did reach out to me and just asked that I mention, and certainly we recognize there was an incident over school vacation with regards to a leak that was coming in. He had an opportunity, came down to the school, saw what a great job the fire department as well as school administration and also the tremendous job the custodial staff did with not only containing the leak. The fire department actually put tarps around and actually filtered it all into one place, really kept it in one place. The custodial staff, and Donnie then said he went and checked it out afterwards. It was really a tremendous job. So one, make sure we recognize, as is always the case, and it's truly a testament of Milford, which is our departments, our administration, our custodial staff, and everybody works together as a true community. So I want to make sure that I passed that along and certainly recognized each one of them and thanked them.
Absolutely correct. The fire department's always been a great partner with us, as have the police department and really all the town departments. We're very, very lucky. Any other members have announcements, correspondence, distributions?
I'll say one thing. Last night, the high school rolled out their new schedule to parents, community, whoever wanted to come. It was okay attended. I wouldn't say I was completely impressed. There were a lot of good questions that people had, which was great. I do want to say publicly, though, there was like a misconception that this wasn't done. This took a really long time, and one question was raised, well, we didn't know about it, or our kids didn't know about it. And I just want to say public, since I've been on this committee, it's been a hot topic of discussion. And this was vetted through the community in the school, through teachers, through whoever wanted to be on that. And the schedule is backed by the administration, backed by the principals, and backed by the school committee, because it's the right thing for the kids, and it offers so much opportunity for kids of all levels. It's going to make our high school better. That's not to say the block schedule wasn't working. This just will work better for what we want to do here. And I just wanted to make sure that was out there, that this has been at least 6 years. I mean, I have no idea. But as long as I've been on the committee, the change in schedule has been a hot topic of discussion that was really well thought out and well planned.
Yeah, there was no lack of diligence on this.
No.
There was so much work that went into it, so much discussion by this committee, by the administration in this building. I'm just really pleased that we're finally to the point where it's rolling out for us now. This is going to be a great thing for our students. It's going to be a great thing for our school district. So I hope that if anyone that was surprised, we're sorry that you were surprised, but this has definitely been a very well thought out, well vetted decision, and that
Absolutely.
You really shouldn't have concerns about the effect this is going to have on students. I couldn't agree more, Christine.
Yeah, it's only going to be positive in the long run. There's always, change always causes some people to get a little nervous, and there will be differences for people. But in the long run, on the big scheme of things, it's a terrific move for the school system. Terrific.
I have two distributions as well when you're through.
Sure. Actually, Bob and I were just, before the cameras came on, arguing about who was going to have the pleasure of reading this particular piece of correspondence. And since Bob was the person who put so much work into it, I feel it's only right that you have the opportunity to share the wonderful news that we received today
Well, yes, great news today. We get notification that our elementary schools are accredited from NEASC. Remember that process that we went through. I have correspondence here that says recently the Committee on Public Elementary Middle Schools within the Commission on Public Schools reviewed the initial accreditation report of the Milford Elementary Schools program, which was unanimously approved. As a result of the review, the school has been awarded initial accreditation as a member of the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. And we'll do a formal press release on that, media release on that. Thanks for letting me announce that. It's been a tremendous amount of work over the years, and I want to publicly thank the administrators past and present who worked on that. It certainly transcended more than just the current administration, and certainly the staff members who put all the time into that, community members, parents who were involved in every aspect of that accreditation process. It's an important step for our district. I'm gonna make sure I verify this, but in a call that we placed to NEAS to ask the question of, how many such districts like Milford have accreditation that's pre-K through 12, and we're aware of only one other in the state of Massachusetts, so which sets us. But I want to have evidence of that. I want to have proof of that first. But that's the response that I got back from NEASC, which is just a great feather in the cap of Milford Public Schools. Something I'm tremendously proud of, and I hope that you know that you are as well. That we have a fully accredited pre-K through 12 school district in Milford, and it's just great news to share tonight. So thanks for letting me. share
You're
that
welcome.
time.
I would feel bad if I didn't.
There are two other distributions I had for the committee this evening. I'm going to ask Kathy, just to, if you don't mind, to comment on one from the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. It's another bit of good news. Could you maybe, since you were so close to that, Kathy, would you mind just commenting on that correspondence?
As you know, we were asked to, as a department, partake in the certification for immigration of all of our staff back in, well, the initial request was in September, and the process began in October, November, and we received full certification last week that the school department, along with the Milford, all of the Milford departments, that we received full certification from the immigration department on all of our staff. It was a lot of preparation. We had probably 9 3-inch binders that immigration took back with them to Boston and reviewed, and this is our notification. So it's good news.
And we saw Carol Liberto, her car was parked here for several Sundays.
Yes,
She came in off hours
Carol.
and just tried to pull that work together when it was a quiet office to do that work. So I want to publicly thank Carol Liberto too for, and Kathy,
Absolutely.
and to you and your staff as well for making that happen. And then the last piece, which is also good news, this is more financial good news. This is a data support specialist for the Milford Schools. I know the committee's just getting this memo for the first time tonight. Just a quick highlight of what that is. In prior reports to the committee about data specialists, we've been working with Pat Meehan. We've been consulting with Pat Meehan, as you know, from the last revision of my goals, so as to meet with her, talk with her monthly. This is now, the DESE has now added a data specialist to their staff who's dedicated to working with districts like Milford and others. I've reached out to Christina Lento, who's named in this memo, which comes at no cost to the Milford schools. So we now have a dedicated data specialist that I can work with from the DESE, who'll be coming out in the coming weeks to meet with me, which means that we don't have to pay for those contracted services any longer.
This is very important because previously they had only offered this type of work to school districts that weren't performing to standard.
That's correct.
And so school districts like Milford that were performing to standard didn't have an opportunity to have these services. We had to pay for them. So this is a tremendous thing for us.
It really is great. So at some point, hopefully I'll have a chance to introduce Christina Lento to you. I'm not sure that the DESE wants their staff making public appearances and that sort of thing. There's been some practice of that in the past, but nevertheless, I'll make the reach to her, invite her in to meet with me. And I think this is a great step for the district, and certainly it's a cost savings to us as well. So,
Just a quick question on that, Bob. So
Sure.
Certainly very good news. Appreciate it. All positive news tonight, which is good.
so far.
Yeah, so far, it's early. The one question I would have on that is for the benefit of the taxpayers of Milford, do you have a rough estimate, either you or Kathy, of what that savings will ultimately represent for us as we're heading obviously into some pretty aggressive budget season?
Well, the savings would be, again, we're working without a curriculum leader besides myself in terms of data. Presumably the next leader that we have in curriculum will have the data assessment skill set. So we'd be looking at whatever savings there is for the remaining months of the school year. So it wouldn't be, I don't think it'd be that significant. I'm not sure what we pay Patricia and me in terms by contract hour.
I could say last year we paid the data specialist about $4,500. This year to date, we've probably paid Pat at least half of that, so half of the savings.
Yeah, so it's not substantial. I mean, it's not
That's
tens
a
of
stipend,
thousands of
Bob.
dollars,
That's a-
but it's a savings nevertheless to the bottom line.
No, and $2,300 is, that's books, that's some
That's right.
supplies, that's paper, that's toner. So, that's, every little bit helps. So that's great. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Thanks, Kathy, for the number. I have no other distributions.
The next item on our agenda is the invitation to speak. And it doesn't seem like anyone came to address the committee tonight. So our next item agenda was going to be a special education program update. Unfortunately, Ms. Balsito, our Director of Special Education, had some family issues to attend to tonight, and she's not able to join us. We certainly hope everything is okay with her and her family, and we will see her at our next meeting. Which means the next item on our agenda is our Technology Department update. And so we have our technology guru.
Evening, Len.
How are you, Len?
Evening, Len.
You wrote my own name down on here so I can remember that. Hi, I'm Len Boudry, the CTO at Milford. The first thing we wanted to talk about, I guess, you guys want to know about what I was spending money on and what kind of projects were going on. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we'd like to know, where the budget is going, where you see deficiencies in our systems. Also, of course, you're splitting your time 60% with the school and 40% with the town. Like to hear how that's working out. Is that a true number? Is that how your time is working out right now? So yeah, those are absolutely the pieces that we'd like to hear about. Yep.
Okay, well, just starting off, I have not spent a lot of money. I've only spent money on maintenance type of equipment, okay? And the reason is I have to collect information about what you have here. I've been working on that since May. I started part-time when I was just being a substitute. I've just been collecting information. I've been, because you can't just go around just spending money on things and not know what you're actually going to be getting down in the future. So, and so you understand where I'm coming from is when I first started here, the first day, this is what I received for information on your whole computer network in the town of Milford. This one page of paper with 12 IP addresses on it. That is all I received. Okay, that's your whole network right there. What I have is here. This is what I have. It's 2 full notebooks filled with diagrams, schematics, IP addresses, servers, which we have 20 of. And there's only 12 IP addresses on this this sheet. It's nutty. Okay, so just so you have an understanding of what you walk into with what you had here, okay, with what I'm doing now, which is basically trying to figure out where everything stands. Now I'm getting a good handle on a lot of that, and I started creating a 5-year plan. Now this is a very, very rough draft, okay? I emailed it. I hope everybody got it. I don't remember. I hope everybody got it, okay?
It's difficult when we receive things the same day of the meeting,
Look, I understand, please.
But we knew we'd have you here tonight, so I'm not particularly concerned about it.
Yeah, read it, digest it. It's very, very rough. I've just started putting this together. I just started sometime in January putting this together because where we need to get to, if we don't have any kind of a plan, we're never going to get there. Because right now, one of the biggest problems you have is the infrastructure is no good. It's complete, utter chaos. Okay? You have fiber connections. There's a wiring closet down by the cafeteria. It's got 10 fiber connections, and out of all 10 of those, only 1 pair is good. There's another down by the A wing. It's got 15 fiber connections, and out of the 15 pair, 1 cable is good. Okay, so these are things that there's just you've got an infrastructure that's being continuing. You're adding and adding and adding to it, and it is continually degrading. Okay, so this part of it it's going to stop. We got to start moving on with infrastructure and building it like it should be in the first place, okay? A good, strong infrastructure, a good layer, the networking part of it, okay? Where your cable, your internet coming in, and everything works via internet now. Your phone system in the school system, that's all internet related, okay? That's all via internet. There's no physical line connection between this school and another school. It's all via the internet, all right? VoIP. So what we're doing is, for the school, we're going to have some fiber run so we can get the wiring closets to be actually connected reliably, all right? Then from that point, I want to move mostly all of the computer systems off of the phone network. Going to put it on its own separate network because the phone system is a very antiquated system. It's at least 15 years old. You just added to it by adding Memorial School, okay? So we were looking at keeping the existing phone system for at least another 5 years, because you added on to that. You certainly wouldn't upgrade what you have after you just finished a big project. You'd be looking at least 5 years to amortize that project, all right? So the phone system, if it stayed like this, and we move the computer network off of that phone system, we could then put a robust network through all the schools. Fiber through in the schools. The fiber in the other schools is pretty good. It's the high school which has got serious problems. Okay. But that can all be fixed. All right. It's not like it's unrepairable or not fixable. But that is where the major emphasis needs to actually be on. We need to start focusing and stay focused for a while, for at least the next 6 months or so, on building the infrastructure so it's stable and reliable and robust. After that, what I see is a wireless high school, okay, where every classroom will have its own wireless device, where if they have workstations, all the workstations will be connected via wireless. One wireless router costs about $40, and it can contain about 150 simultaneous connections, as opposed to a $200 switch, which takes about 48. There's an incredible difference between the wireless and you go to and wired. All right? Wired is a technology that is long expired, and the only way we can prepare for the future, say 2, 3, 4 years down the line, is to have wireless. Projectors, all the projectors now, they're coming in wireless, all right? All the Mimeo, Smartboard, they're all coming out wireless. They're getting rid of Ethernet completely. It's going to be all gone within the next 2 or 3 years. So if you buy any of the latest equipment, it's going to be wireless. We need to start building that infrastructure now. It's very critical that we head in that direction and try our best to stay focused on it. There's a lot of sexy, cool projects that people want, they can do. All kinds of cool stuff. But you can't have any of it until you actually build the base that you can keep adding on, and the base does not just collapse under its own weight, okay? So that's really what I wanted to talk about. Now, as far as spending money, I'm a very conservative person, okay? I don't spend money on things that I don't need. I've done this for a long time. But the things that you need are the things you have to have. Okay. Some of the big things that you need is support. You've got 2,000 supportable devices, computers, printers, Mimeos, workstations, laptops, 2,000 devices district-wide, and you have 3 people. And we're not even talking about the town. We're just talking about the school district. You have 3 people servicing those devices. And you have 372 teachers, 1 instructional paraprofessional. 1 person is helping those teachers to get the most out of their professional development. 1. Now, of course, everybody says 1 for every 100. But a lot of school districts can't do that. We all pitch in. We help. Vinny Kizo is our 1 paraprofessional, and when he's busy doing things, we all pitch in. Myself, Dan, Rich Alves, we all pitch in. So because we have to, because Vinny works with us too, and he pitches in, because you can't have all this equipment, all these switches, all these printers, all this laptops, all the servers, 20-something servers, and not have the support. All right? If you keep going in the direction that you're going, okay, where we're letting everything waiting to absolute failure before, it's like me driving my car, I'm waiting for the thing to die before I go and get another one. But when it dies, I'm going to be without a car for several weeks until I get something else. You can't be like that in a school. You can't wait to the very end. You've You've got to stay at a certain level so that when the next technology comes up and you want to be able to add that into your curriculum, you can add on to your network and keep things moving by keeping the life cycle constantly upgradable. Right now, you're not at that point. Things have become so outdated that if you needed to upgrade your phone system, you're looking at a complete gut. Right across the board. If you want to upgrade your phone system, you're looking at gutting it all and having to start from scratch. Now, I don't know if you guys can imagine how much that will cost. But if you stayed with the kind of system that you have, a Cisco system, you'd be looking well into the $400,000 range. Yeah. That is just incredible amount of money to think about. All right. So I urge you to stick with a plan and focus on infrastructure so that we can get the infrastructure built around the future. All right. And then from there, we can continue to add on to it and make everything work and keep adding the kind of good technologies that will help teachers. We need to support the teachers. All the technology in the world doesn't make the teachers teach better. Teachers, they go to college, they learn all this cool stuff, and they need to be able to do it, okay? Projectors, that's a big thing. I'm just starting now to getting quotes for some Epson Brightlink. That's going to start in the science department. That's the first place here at the high school. Epson Brightlinks. Brightlink mounts on a wall. It turns a whole wall into a smart board. Okay? Yeah, they're more expensive up front, but the maintenance of them is an eighth of what the cheap projectors cost. They have a 5-year warranty, and they pay for themselves just in light bulbs. I don't know if you guys understand, those little projectors, those light bulbs are $280 for those little projectors. You buy them from Dell, they're about $500, and a bulb is $200 and something. Okay, so you see where Dell makes their money on this stuff, and you see all these companies, okay? The Epson Brightlinks, $70 bulb. Okay, so you get to pay one way or the other, and you're better off having the better device that teachers can actually use. That's really a really multi-use device that every teacher can use, whether it's a projector or a smart board or however they want to use it. That is the way to be going. Projectors, carts, I want to move away from carts. Teachers don't want to go grab a cart. They want to start a class, they want to have their class going, they want to turn the projector on, it's going to be wireless. Soon teachers are going to have laptops. Our next round are stuff from Dell, or we get offers all the time for laptops, and I mean, we're going to be moving toward laptops. They're going to be wireless. I mean, that's where technology is going to be heading to. It's, you know what I mean, desktops are definitely going the way of the dodo bird, and we're definitely going to need to stay on top of the wireless. That's another big reason. Projectors, they're wireless. Laptops, they're going to be wireless. You want teachers to be able to have a class basically anywhere, you know? That's really, really critical. Okay, so alignment with the National Education Technology Plan. I don't know if any of you have ever read this, the National Education Technology Plan. You can get it online. It's very, very good. It's long. It's not bathroom reading, you know, it's not like reading People magazine, but it's definitely very, very good. And it gives you a nice outline on where school systems really need to be putting their emphasis on. All right? Now, for me, emphasis needs to be on supporting teachers, getting them technology that they can use every single day. Okay? Make it easy for them to use it, and then they'll use it. They'll be more apt to use it. We all know what it's like to have technology that's hard to use. Video recorders, you know what I mean? Let's program our video. If you all remember when those first came out, no one used them because you couldn't program it to get a PhD in rocket science to make them work. So now, to get that stuff, to do that, I think making it easy for teachers to use, they'll be more apt to use technology, and we spend a lot of time researching that stuff with teachers to find the proper stuff.
You spend supporting teaching staff, sort of staff issues as opposed to supporting infrastructure issues. So, and I don't know how you'd want to break that down, whether it's an issue that they might have with an access code versus an issue they have with being able to use a particular piece of software. I'm not sure the best way to try and break out that type of information. So I would need someone who's an expert in the field to tell me, well, there's two types of support for teachers. One support is application support, the other support is infrastructure support. I'm spending 70% on application and 30% on infrastructure. Can you give me a sense on how that's working for you right now and where your time is being allocated?
I presently do very little supporting teachers, unless it's something that can't be handled by any of the other people, all right? I spend almost all my time on infrastructure problems, okay? Server at the high school, December vacation, I spent the week, I rebuilt the high school server. There was no space to put freshmen on it.
Time being spent on infrastructure, 90%?
I would say easily in the 90s.
In the 90%.
Okay.
And when you say that the biggest challenge school that you have is the high school, in terms of infrastructure,
Absolutely.
does that mean that we have machines that are down that students don't have access to, or does that mean you're always playing catch up, trying to make sure that these machines are staying online?
Constantly trying to keep the machines online. I mean, it's a constant, never-ending, let's Band-Aid something so we can get it up and running again. It shouldn't be that way, all right? It should not be that way. It's only that way because it's been Band-Aided. That was the approach in the past. Everything was Band-Aided, Band-Aided, Band-Aided instead of a fix.
Well, and we all certainly appreciate that. I think that one thing that we've done this year, for your knowledge, I mean, you probably don't watch our meetings. I don't blame you if you don't.
No, they're awfully exciting.
One thing that we've done with our buildings and grounds is we have a person in charge of our buildings and grounds. And so out of his budget, out of his operating budget, he has a list of priorities of what needs to get done first and what can be waited on. And our direction to him has been, we don't want to get to the point of failure with our systems. And although I realize that perhaps you may have walked into a situation where the idea was, let's wait for it to fail and then we'll fix it. And I don't want to speak for the board here, and please interrupt me, but I don't think that's the current disposition of this board. Does anybody else want to speak to that, or?
I think certainly certainly echo Patrick's comments from the standpoint of, certainly we're not looking to get to a point of failure and where we're really, we're trying to bail the Pacific Ocean with a spoon. But I think that it's gonna be a balance. And one of the things that, certainly I would be in favor of is taking a look at is, within your current budget, what do the priorities look like? It'd be great to say, Len, here, tell us what you need. You need $2 million, here you go. Unfortunately, that's not the world we operate in, and I know that you understand that. What would you be, I'd love to see kind of a detailed list for myself of what are the priorities, what are the costs associated with that, what can you do within your existing operating budget, what would you need, possibly we look at from a capital improvement, not saying we're gonna get it, but what does that list look like? So that we do best, and we've said this with others that have come before us and other department heads, we do best, Milford does best when we're able to plan. So we're able to plan and support because I think it's very easy to say you'll have the support of every community member and certainly of the board, but we've got to do it the right way. We've got to be smart about it, and we've got to be able to plan for it so that we can be effective and be as timely as we possibly can, realizing we're heading into some challenging budget times.
I agree. I think that you make reference to the infrastructure, and I'd be really interested to see what's your plan to fix the infrastructure.
My plan is to have, first of all, we need fiber rerun from the server area to all the switch rooms.
But I'd like to see the plan broken down so that
Into what?
so that I can see the timeline.
Okay,
In other words, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, and I understand what you came into, a piece of paper with 12 IP addresses on it.
Right.
I get all that, but I think there comes a point where, you've made your point. There's some real issues here at the high school in particular. Now, what is your plan as a director to move the high school out of that situation? I'd like to see that. I'd like to bring it to us and say, well, this is my first plan is, if it is the fiber is really in trouble. This is what we've got to do, and I'm not going to do anything else until I get this done. After I get that done, I'm going to move on to this, so that we can see a plan where you're going. In your presentation tonight, you kind of seem like you're all over the place, almost like you're a fireman. And I understand, you know, again, you came into a tough situation, but if you could just do that, for me anyway, I'd like to see something like that so I know, you know, where we're going, you know, where is our money going, and you might need more help from us.
Well, I'm trying to get to that point. I'm still at a point where I'm bailing the ocean out with a teacup here, you know? I mean, if it's not a server that's failing, it's a server at another school that's failing for lack of hard drive space. I
Okay.
mean, it's the point of sale system is down on a semi-regular basis because the Comcast modem can't keep up and it overheats constantly. It is a constant thing.
And I'm with you, but that's a classic example, like, we didn't hire you to bail out the ocean with a teacup.
That's right.
Okay, so if you need more help, then it's our responsibility to try and find you that help, or try to work with you to correct that problem. But to have you here in another year and you're still bailing out the ocean with a teacup, we're not getting anywhere.
No, that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
We are definitely gonna have to be bringing people in. There's no doubt.
Okay.
Because it can't possibly go on at this stage, because I can bail faster, but I can't possibly ever get ahead.
Right, we don't want anybody bailing. We want to be planning and we
Right,
want to be
that's
moving
it.
forward.
Okay, the whole point of talking tonight was we need to focus on the future. Focus. If we focus on the future, we can make this thing happen and we can make this thing work. Okay? It's not far now that I know where the problems are. Okay? I can easily put together a plan, you know, so that you can see on paper what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, what it's going to cost, so you can all see it. Okay, I have the definite idea and the plan to put this together to make this all work. Okay, now the time to put it all together, it's very, very hard to have that kind of time. You know, really, there's only so many hours in a day that somebody could work. I go home at night, I log into servers. I do updates, I make sure the backups are working, you know. This is stuff that has to happen, you know, every day. So weekends, we've had 4 big storms in the last 4 weekends. That's tough for a guy like me. I always, you know, keep track of all this stuff. But that will happen shortly when I can finish this 5-year plan more. I'm going to move on and give you a timeline for this infrastructure. Now, but the infrastructure, it just recently I have figured out that we need to move all the network servers and everything off the phone system. So that's just a recent development when I realized that all the fiber was just not usable. I had hoped to use individual cables to match the transmit and receive side. Each cable needs 2. Okay, so, but that's not going to be it's not possible. So,
Right,
but I will get you. I will get.
But I guess what I'm saying is that I agree with Scott. I think what your department needs to do is make a priority list.
Well, we have.
Then once you have your priority list, then you can build your plan.
Well, we have a priority, and I have priorities. We've got the department needs to continue supporting the teachers the best they can every single day,
Absolutely.
regardless of what's falling down around them. They have to constantly make sure that the teachers are supported. I am the one who works doing all that other behind the scenes stuff. All right, that's what I do. The other guys, they spend their time and they focus on making sure teachers are supported. Viruses, network connections. I've taught them how to correct password problems, things like that, so that they can do a lot of this stuff on their own without my interaction. And then we talk about it, and Thursday we find something, everybody gets that information, so the next time it happens, everybody has the answer. And we can move on like that. And then what I do is I work on these infrastructure problems.
Rob?
Yeah, in addition to, you know, fine-tuning the plan and prioritizing the needs, I would suggest, and this has worked well for our Director of Building and Operations, is especially for anything that comes with a considerable cost, is to look at it in such a way as, can it be phased in? Can you do pieces of this at a time? I think that's going to be important as you think about your plan and as you prioritize your list. can it be done in phases? Can the infrastructure be done in phases?
Yeah, absolutely. I would not think of just springing a project on from start to finish all in one big lump. I would do it in phases. This way, the very first phase, all the bugs worked out before the second phase keeps moving on, and then the third phase and fourth phase. That's the only smart way to add infrastructure, is to continue to keep improving it till you get to the very end.
Christine?
At the very end, you get a final project.
I guess, with technology, you get a new phone, the next day there's a new phone out. We are always going to be running uphill against technology. I get that, no problem. And I understand our infrastructure, but I'm really concerned with, it's all over the place right now, and so I don't know where our focus is. And I need a rollout plan. I need to know that, okay, today we need to do the cables. I don't need to know the cables. I just need to know that the high school needs this to make this happen in a rollout fashion. And right now I don't have that. And it might have come in what you sent today, but I didn't have time to go through that. But
this is more generic as right now at this stage, okay?
But as a committee who wants this school to thrive and technology and to be on the forefront, I have no idea where we're at right now from what I'm hearing. I have an idea, what the heck has been going on, that we don't have the technology base that we need. A lot of things work right now, but we need to improve it. And I think, I don't know, we need to know when we're getting a plan. And we need to know how to roll out that plan. And right now, I still don't have an idea when you could get me a plan or when you can present to us again. We need another presentation with a plan saying, okay.
I'm just getting to a point where I can actually even think about a plan. You have technology in this building. I removed switches that were from the 80s. Okay?
Hey, Len,
this is
But-
just
we
incredible.
understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
We understand where you're coming from. When we don't need the examples of, please.
Okay.
And
No
we-
disrespect,
Yeah,
but-
we've been struggling, we actually have been struggling with this for quite some time now as
Okay.
a committee with the technology. And I think it's something that's been very difficult for us to get our hands around because it requires specialized knowledge that most of us don't have.
Unfortunately, yes.
And so I think we know that there's problems, and we don't need to be granular. At least I don't want to be
No.
granular. I honestly don't care how many switches we have. I really don't.
Okay.
But what matters is that we're moving forward in the right direction, so we know we're on the right track, because we know what you were handed. We know what you were handed. No one is criticizing the volume of work that you had to deal with when you walked in out of the blue cold. I mean, we were left in a very difficult spot. So we're not trying to rehash where we've been.
Right, and I don't want to
Yeah,
be doing that either.
we have to figure out where we're going up. Paul and then Scott?
Thank you. Thanks a lot for coming and enlightening us on what is out there. Again, like Robbie Lanzetta said, and Scott was mentioning too, we need that list of priorities, but
Right.
also a way too, Len, if you could see how we could phase things in.
And how to get there.
More or less give us not only what the perfect world is, but what the real world would be for us.
Right.
And for the taxpayers of Milford. One of the things I wanted to mention too, in the event of a disaster, such as a natural disaster or a fire or whatever, would we have backup capability?
Yes, you have backup now. You
Oh,
have
we do?
backup
Okay.
capabilities. This is how I moved this. I moved the server to new hard drives over the Christmas holiday. Since in November, one of the first things I did, October, I brought in some special backup devices, and they're on all the servers in the district.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, one other thing too, Mr. Chairman, you were mentioning, about our tower and whatnot being outdated and whatnot, and more or less reaching its maximum capacity that it was built for. Is Milford Schools unique to that, or is there other school districts where Christine was mentioning how technology is ever changing so quickly? Are other schools going through the same process, other towns?
For a school this size, you are unique. For a district this size, you are unique. It's been let go for way too long. Most districts are not like this. Smaller districts are often like this, But a big district like this, no. This is definitely a unique situation. I go to a technology meeting over at Nipmuc once a month, and
Right.
they have departments, 10 people in a department, and they have about similar size stuff, that we have. They focus on keeping things up to date. They have end of life type of replacement policies. They make sure. I mean, this is necessary to have in place. As you know, you buy something new, a new laptop. Well, it really works on its own. I mean, you don't need much service for it for the first 4 years or so. But when that laptop gets about 4 or 5 years old, the screen starts dimming. It doesn't boot all the time. You start having networking problems. Okay, and then you need more support as things get older. Well, almost everything in the town is old. Okay, I mean, just to be blunt about it, it's all past its life expectancy.
Right, but for the record, like our chairman just did mention, we are now on the right path.
We are definitely.
Hopefully, we're starting something here that's going to
Yeah,
be
this is
a good
definitely,
outcome.
This is definitely the start.
Okay.
Okay, and what I'm trying to tell you is, this is the beginning of really starting to improve all of this.
Sure.
Now, I will get you a plan. Okay. I would probably say, this is March, probably maybe end of April, early May, I'll have a chance to have a complete plan in place of where we need to go, priorities that we need to do, and how to get to that stage, okay? In steps, not one big humongous project, because those things are too unwieldy to work. In technology, it changes so fast. You have to be able to move with it, and it's very important that you start, when you start a project, it actually has to live. You have to keep changing it, make sure it works, and keep moving forward with it until you get it all in place, okay? So I'm a big believer in that, and I would say, end of April, something like that.
One of the things I was going to ask you too, Lynn, is do you know if there's any grants out there, through the Department of Education or through these large technology firms that could help a school district out like us?
I don't know. I wouldn't know. I would be positive there are grants like that, especially the National Science Foundation, any of that stuff. I would imagine there'd be grants that should be looked into. I myself would not have time for doing that, but it is certainly something that someone should look into, and that's a great idea.
Scott?
Well, with a good vision, we
sorry,
can,
Kristen.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. With a good vision,
Yeah, if
a
we have-
grant is, it's what I do.
Yeah, that's right.
You just do it, but you need a solid, strong vision with evidence to show where you're going and where you want to be.
Right.
So once we have that, we have a lot more to go on.
Right.
So, your job is the hardest because you have to give us that before we can find those grants that fit those needs.
Well, now that I'm at a point now where I really know where a lot of the serious problems are, and how to move beyond that, which is really good. I've gotten some of the fires put out, server problems, things like that. There are other issues, and I'm still trying to keep my head above water with those things. So it's important, that as long as you understand that my time is very, very, very limited to write reports, things like this.
Oh,
But
sure.
something like this is critical to have a plan in place of where we are, where we need to get to, and how we can get to it in stages. Okay?
Scott?
My question on that, just, and his name's mentioned, obviously, Rob Quinn, who does a great job from a facilities perspective. I'm sure is somebody who came in at a very similar point from a facilities perspective to what you've sort of inherited on the technology side. If you've not had the opportunity to spend even a cup of coffee with him, somebody I would certainly encourage you to go spend that
No,
time
I
with,
spent time
as
with
he can
Rob.
empathize with you wholeheartedly, number
No, we
one.
have, Rob and I have worked on the camera project
Excellent.
together.
So the next piece I would say is, as he's been mentioned a couple of times tonight, because of the way that he presents and the way that he's been able to very creatively use the budget and get his arms wrapped around a 7-building school system, which
Yep.
is the same challenge that you're facing, it may be a good resource for you to help as your time is limited with exactly what we're talking about. He'll be able to give you, all right, yeah, here's how I've done it from it, and I'm not saying that you don't have the skill set. He's gonna be able to give you the format, how he's been able to do that, and see if maybe that may be a good resource for you. I know Kathy's been instrumental as well as Bob in that process. I think it will help you from a process perspective, giving you potentially some time, and also, quite frankly, you've heard from each member of the board tonight. You have our support. We've got to get some information, because unfortunately, as you are keenly aware, we've got taxpayers that we ultimately report to, who, just as we all have a boss, that's ours.
Right.
And if we've got to go and ask them for a penny, I've got to be able to tell them exactly where it's spent, and I've got to make them feel good about it, and I've got to feel good about it before that happens, as I know every member of that board. I think Rob may be a good resource to put you in touch with to help build that, because the more succinct you can be on that, I think the better off, the more support you will get from everybody. One thing Milford is known for is its support of the schools and of all its departments.
I think as a way to sort of wrap this up, and first of all, I do want to thank you, Len, because a lot of times people come in and they don't tell us what the problems are. They just tell us what's going really well. And so, thank you for coming in and presenting these issues to us, because they're really important. It's important that we get our hands around these. And we want these problems fixed. We want a plan in place. I think Rob is a fantastic resource. I think something that we've discussed in the past, which maybe we could think about again, there are independent companies that come in and they do stress testing, they do evaluations of our hardware and our software to help put plans in place. A lot of them will do them at no charge because they want to win the business. And so I think if maybe we should consider that, Kathy and Bob. I know that there's a couple of companies in the area that can help you with that. So some of this time comes back to you, because you're right. Having you spending all of your time fixing these minor issues and not having an opportunity to be big picture, which is where we need you to be.
Right.
We need you to be big picture. The person who's running the department has to be capable of saying, this is where we are today. This is my 90-day plan. This is my 160-day plan. This is my 4-year plan. Because obviously things can't all get done at once, and we're all appreciative of that. And I don't think anyone expected you to come in here and fix the problems that you inherited, and you absolutely did inherit problems. So I think if we can investigate some of the independent analysis on that to get you the help that you need, I think that might be a great first step. And if you feel that you can put that plan together by April, that's great. If you can't and you need more time, just tell us. It's not, we're very easy to work with as long as we know where you're coming from, that's all.
Yep.
And I think that's, it's not a race.
This is a marathon, not a sprint.
That's right.
Needs-
Absolutely. It is a marathon.
It needs to be right, though. It needs to be right.
Absolutely.
That's-
We can't, yeah, exactly. It's got to be correct so we can keep moving forward with whatever we build. We need to keep building on it, okay? We
Right.
need to just keep building on it,
Right.
okay?
Any other members? Okay, thank you very much, Len. I appreciate
Len.
it.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Len. The next item on our agenda is the report of the superintendent of schools, and this specifically is the Woodland School Building Project update.
Just briefly, we had a meeting this afternoon. This is the process for selecting the designer, the architect. We go to the Massachusetts School Building Authority next Tuesday, and there's a board review that will happen with MSBA. Patrick, myself, and Jonathan Bruce are the 3 Milford designees who will vote on an architect, a designer, that will work with our owner's project manager and with our school building committee to move to the feasibility study. So we actually are at the last phase before we really hit the ground and now do the work, the analysis work that the town is waiting to hear the results of. We had a productive meeting today just to talk about that process, what the steps are. This panel is not just as the 3 of us. There's another, how many members were there?
I think it's 12.
Another 12. I think another 12 besides us from the MSBA. So they're looking to us. They look to Patrick from a school committee's perspective, school programming as to what these designer proposals. There were 9 submissions that we had a chance to review. We're not able to pre-rank or pre-consider those, so we do that together with the MSBA. So there are engineers on staff there that will look at the engineering components, and our owner's project manager will make sure that the submissions have met all the qualifications, the requirements for submittals, in terms they have the licenses and whatever they might need for to actually be considered a viable project.
And just to step in, I think
Please.
we talk about the architects. And so the architects that we're talking about are more than what you would simply think of as architects. These are actually the people who come in, they'll survey the site, they'll decide what we can put on the site, where we can build, which spots are buildable, parking spaces. I mean, these are the people that are actually capable of putting a complete building in place. So when we say architect, it's more than just a building design. It's a site plan. It's everything. So this is a very, very exciting stage.
It really is, and we'll come at this from each of our own perspectives, and we'll certainly hear from MSBA. Again, that'll happen in Boston next Tuesday, and then we'll see how that goes, how the ranking goes. If there's a clear winner, so to speak, then we'll move on and presumably enter into negotiations with that architect designer firm. If there are a couple that are fairly close, there may be a subsequent interview process that happens at the Massachusetts School Building Authority. These are all public meetings, so if you have time and have the interest to go to Boston next Tuesday, I'd be happy to provide you with information. If not, we'll be there representing you, and we'll certainly follow up after that. But that's the next stage where we are in the process. So by the next meeting, we're meeting next Thursday. So by the next meeting, we should have another update for you as to how that process went. Is there any questions? I kind of glossed over that, but that's it's been fairly labor intensive with the school building committee working, to get to this point.
There's a lot of these plans. I mean, each of these architects comes in and they give us a proposal. It's spiral bound. It's 40 pages long. It has certificates and like projects. And so now we just have to decide among these 9, which we found out today is actually a very large number. Usually before 5 different architects will bid on a school building project. Milford attracted 9. So they're excited to build this project, which I think is kind of nice. And so if it's going to be a feather in their cap, then hopefully we'll get extra special treatment when we actually pick someone to put the building up. So, or renovate the building or whatever it happens to be.
Right.
Yeah.
One final comment. I think you'd be pleased that you had a chance to meet at the last meeting from Jocelyn Lester. You had a chance to meet. Jeff Luxembourg was here, right? Just Jeff Luxembourg. This team continues to impress us. In fact, at least me anyway. Each time we get to know them, it's becoming more of a close relationship with the school building committee, and they truly are advocates for the town of Milford. They've proven that already in the meetings, and I don't know if you agree.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, we've really made a great selection there on behalf of the town. So, unless there's any questions, that's all I have to report this evening on the school building project. Okay, thanks.
The next item on our agenda is the report of the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Human Resources. And first, let's go with the warrants.
I have 3 warrants for the school committee's approval this evening. The first warrant is in the amount of $29,758.25.
Motion from Rob, second from Paul. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor. The motion carries.
The second warrant is in the amount of $22,429.85.
Motion from Christine, second from Scott. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor. Motion carries.
And the third warrant is in the amount of $202,716.59.
Motion from Mike, second from Rob. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor. The motion carries.
There also is a personnel update for the school committee's review. No vote is required.
Okay.
I do have a request for jury duty that does require a vote for Marie Gilello.
Jalelo, yeah.
Gilello.
Can I have a motion from Mike, a second from Scott to approve jury duty? All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor. Motion carries.
We do have course approval this evening in the amount of $19,342.48.
I have a motion from Paul, second from Rob. All in favor? Opposed? Unanimous in favor. Motion carries.
There is also a out-of-state or out-of-country, I should say, request for travel from the high school music department.
Oh, this is the
They-
Montreal trip.
This is
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't believe they
They
went
do a
last year.
trip, I think they do a
Every 2
domestic trip, and then
years.
they do something out of Canada. I don't know that they've ever flown. If you recall, some meeting prior, there was a proposal that they pulled that back because the rates had gone up fairly substantially from, so she backed out of that trip. So this trip was an equal alternative to that trip. Gives the kids still the travel opportunity, the performance opportunity, but at a lesser expense than the prior proposal.
They're missing 2 full days of school.
I believe that's
Yes.
right, yes.
Does it say in here how many chaperones are attending this trip?
It does.
It does go through.
Approximately 135 to 150 kids will travel. In every 10 students, there will be a chaperone.
Yeah, 1 to 10 ratio. Yeah, it's part of our policy on travel.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
It does require a vote.
Any members have any
Can I ask a question?
questions?
When is the actual festival? When is the actual performance? I know
The trip,
it's when they're going.
Yeah,
I
I'm
wonder
looking,
when they're
I don't think it's
performing.
actually listed, the performance date is listed in here.
let me see,
I'd like to know that.
the
When's
yeah,
August
it's
Rose
on
School?
page 7 of the
Ask my kids.
itinerary. It looks like, the rehearsals, bear with me a second, I'm looking at this. Performance in Notre Dame Basilica is on Sunday, the 14th. There's a couple of performances that day, the concert band, wind ensemble, string orchestra. And they do adjudications, clinics, and so forth with directors there. So it looks like it's Sunday. There's also Saturday performances as well. It appear to be Thursdays when they're arriving, Friday rehearsals, Saturday and Sunday performances, Monday departure.
Okay.
See, this is, I, on the one hand, I have a lot of difficulty
I do.
having students out of school for 2 days.
Mhm.
On the other hand, I also know the value of traveling to Quebec City and Montreal and having the opportunity to perform out of the country. It's a French-speaking country, a French-speaking province of a country.
I can tell you for somebody who's had experience having been on these trips, there's not a lot of downtime. I mean, these kids are
Oh,
gonna
no.
be, we're talking a very long trip to get up there. It is an invaluable experience, that these kids will carry with them, not only certainly throughout their high school careers, but, you know, we've been blessed with having a really a fantastic music department, and this is just another opportunity for these kids, many of whom ultimately go on to careers in some level of either musical education or production of some sort. This is something that does go on their resume. It is something that does actually help some of these students as they're going through the college selection process. Having gone through and been through an adjudication, it does help them in that preparation. And it's, I mean, the fact that they're only missing the 2 days of school, it's really just the travel days. I mean, as it is, they will be exhausted when they get to the first rehearsal. So,
Yeah.
and they typically rehearse all day long, and then they go through adjudication for that one day, and it's a 3-day adrenaline rush, because that's all they've got. And they go home and collapse for a day, so.
I would agree with that. Having been through that myself, I would completely agree. It's a it's a great opportunity for our kids.
So I guess with that, I'll take a motion from Scott, second from Paul. All in favor? Opposed, unanimous, in favor, the motion carries.
And one other item, Mr. Chair, I would like to update the committee with 3 budget concerns that I currently have. One of which, it's the end of February. We have approximately 4 or 5 months left to school, and I have to review and keep an eye on, and will continue to manage the transportation account special ed non-local line. It's currently projected, it's not gonna show in your financial documentation, but it will right now it's projected to be about 38,000 in the red. And that is coupled with the out-of-district tuition deficit, which at the start of the school year, we had 2 students that went out of district. We've mitigated $100,000 of their out-of-district. Right now, we're looking at a $100,000 deficit. A lot can happen in the next 2 or 3 months. I just want to make you aware of that. We're going to watch this very closely and prepare for the offset in our local budget if we need to revisit that in 3 months. The other area is, again, in special ed, we have hired since the start of the school year due to 4 new enrollments in Shining Star, 1 move-in to town at the Woodland School, 1-to-1 aides. We've had 5 additional. I do believe, again, the grant will be able to absorb that out of the 94-142 grant. However, I'm just concerned at this time of year, I just want to bring it to your attention. Again, I'm going to follow it over the next couple months. We may have to do some budget transfers to negate these budget deficits.
Just a quick question, Kathy. Do you have an anticipated deficit on that special ed number?
On the
The last
TAs?
piece- Yeah, with the agent.
Yes,
with that addition.
32,000.
Thank you.
Kathy, just a question real quick, only because I think we talked about transportation at the same time last year. Where does this number that you're projecting fall and where we were at the same time last year?
Last year, we had the same issue, and we were looking at the same deficit, and we were able to mitigate it through the end of the school year.
Okay, so in the end,
It washed out.
okay. So this is just a warning.
Potentially, all you need is 1 or 2
Yeah.
move-outs, and the situation is resolved, but I feel as though I need to bring it to your
Thank you.
attention at this time of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's all I have this evening,
Thank you,
Mr.
Kathy.
Chair.
The next item on our agenda are subcommittee updates. Does any subcommittee have an update? What?
The safety, we met, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of you. We did meet. Once again, we had a good meeting. We talked about the police radios and what a help they are to the school. We found out that Shining Star needed another radio, which Bob is working on. We found that was it Middle School East needed 2 bases,
The Chargers. Yeah.
2 charges, which are already being worked on. Again, to me, it's the information that comes out of just conversation. It's having John Tanner in there, and we start a conversation about something, and from a police perspective, he comes in a conversation and makes you think about, like, we might want to do certain things a certain way with the children we're talking about in a classroom, and he comes in and says, it's not what you want to do, because from a police perspective, this is what somebody on the outside's, they see this. So, you don't want to do that kind of, action or activity. Before I turn it over to Bob, because there's really something exciting to me coming in March to the school system that everybody is very excited about. It's a training program that Bob's put together, and I think it's fantastic. So we did meet. We did have another great meeting, and Bob, I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, I can make a couple of comments. I think I've announced it in prior meetings. So March 15th, we have a training. It's mandatory training for all staff in Milford. That's for every teacher, secretary, custodian, cafeteria worker, whomever. We're trying to invite our substitute teachers. I would encourage our substitutes who might be listening tonight to it's not a paid opportunity for you, but it is a training opportunity for you in Milford. It's one of a kind in that regard. It's a broad overview of how we can deal with threats to our schools, with an aggressor were to come into the school, with some action steps, so our staff are empowered to think on their feet and respond in the very unlikely and God forbid event that we should ever have to experience like Newtown did. We want to make sure we're ready to deal with that, and it has created some upset as I comes up, as I shared with the committee in a recent email. But we're working through that as issues that come up with staff members. We're addressing that. It's no one's going to be in any harm. We're going to have some role play scenarios, and I don't want to get into the specific details of that just because of I want to keep that tight within our district and not have that information too public. But it will allow our staff to be trained in various scenarios. So should things happen in the school district, in our traditional lockdown evacuation procedures, that the staff have firsthand experience working with Metro SWAT staff, Milford Police Department staff, of course. The complexity we have on the 15th is that we have activities that happen at the school. You have about 450 people being trained simultaneously. We must make sure, and the police are well informed of this, as is Mr. Morcone's office. We don't want to have people who are in the school, student athletes, or people here for community use program, while we're doing a training which will involve the shooting of blanks in our school. You're going to have a gunfire if someone's who's not knowing this training is happening. That could be very frightening to those people. So we'll put those provisions in place. It's important that I put this out there, because if you're not aware that the training's happening on March 15th, you would think that something is happening at Milford High School.
Right.
I also want to make sure that the media is clear on this. This has caught some attention, as you can imagine. I was contacted today by the Associated Press, who is caught that on the storyline, and I think it will make sense for us to do. I'll arrange a press conference with the chief of police, and he and I will speak to all the media at once prior to the event, so the information is clear, it's concise, it's coming from us, and so the media doesn't have to try to figure out what's going on. We'll make it explicit. And any staff members who have had, and I'll put this out there, any staff members who are participating in this who have concern can certainly contact me directly or the building principal directly, and we'll work with any staff member who has any pre-existing health conditions or anything they may feel that may not have them participate fully in this training. Just to underscore again, the closing comment on this, I think it's long overdue in our district. It's it may be edgy, it may be things that people call into question, but you know what? It's important. I want to make sure that our students and our staff are safe in our schools. I believe that we are. I believe we can always do more. I think this is the next step to get us there in what we do in our district. So thanks for your support as a school committee. I'm sure you're getting calls. People have expressed concern to you, and I appreciate your support of this as well.
I think this is one of the things that we discussed, especially on that horrible day after the incident in Newtown, Connecticut occurred, that we don't train for improvisational thinking. It's not something that we ever did. It was always close the door and hide. And so the committee challenged the school administrators to work together to come up with a plan that would sort of stress test our buildings. And I think some of the feedback that I've gotten from teachers is that they're not really comfortable, with what's gonna happen here. It's not a comfortable situation. I don't think that you should feel comfortable about the type of training that's going to occur, but I think the skills and the information that are going to come out of this training are going to make our school district safer, and they're going to make our students feel safer knowing that the teachers in our district have a better understanding of how to handle these terrible situations, and that we are as prepared as any school district could be. And I absolutely commend Bob. I mean, this is absolutely unique. I was in communication with Senator Moore's office a couple of weeks ago. There's nothing like this. There's nothing like this happening in Massachusetts right now. And so it's a credit to our district, and it's a credit to our superintendent that we're making something like this happen, and that we're getting all of our teachers an opportunity to participate in it.
Well, Patrick, I think another key thing we brought up too, and it's a very simple thing, Bob had the red dot, and every classroom is gonna have this red dot hanging, which will have the classroom number, the classroom door number, and the nearest exterior door number. And just a great idea, and in that conversation, of course, I was the one that asked the question, is every door numbered? And every principal said to me, well, yes, and then it was, I think so. And again, it's the old, how many handles did we fix on classroom doors when you asked the question? And
Right.
I'm sure they all went back and made sure that all the doors are numbered, but it's for that poor teacher, God forbid it never happens, but gets under a situation and they're on their cell phone
Sure.
calling in, or they're on their police radio calling in, and they're panicked. All they have to do is look at the red dot. It's got all the information they need.
Right.
Just a simple,
Yeah.
but great idea.
That was a great idea, but that was actually Chief of Tom O'Loughlin's idea, and it's tremendous. In fact, one of the concerns I had going in, and the principal, since we had that meeting, I've already got the dispute. I recall I was asking for all the spreadsheets of the interior doors, the numbers, the closest exterior doors. You don't have to think about it. The teachers it's just, you're reacting, you're responding to the situation, the information you need is right at hand. And I've already started to get responses back from the principals with that information. And in fact, I got an email from Rob Quinn, talking about Rob Quinn earlier tonight. He reached out to Jen Walsh, and her students in the vocational program have offered to actually construct these red dots. So now we'll save the expense that we would have to pay a vendor to produce those for us, which could be costly. We're talking about a lot of red dots, every room. Don't underestimate the cost of a red dot when you talk about every single room in every single building. So for Jen to want to take that on, and she and I haven't spoken yet about the details of that. So again, it's just about the school coming together from every department. You have the vocational students working with the facilities director, an unlikely combination of staff coming together, but they do, and they do it in the name of safety of our kids. So
Yep.
that's great.
Thank you.
Thanks for the airtime on that too.
Quick question. Is
Sure.
there any student involvement in the exercise or training?
There is not. Yeah, and deliberately so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a wonderful opportunity for our staff.
And certainly, if you have the time, if you happen to have the time of the day, we're anticipating a 12:30 to 2:30 window. Anytime in there, we haven't finalized the whole agenda that day at this point. There'll be a scenario role play. It'll be important because in each of the rooms where we do these scenarios, there'll be a police officer or a SWAT team member leading that. Teachers will be put in roles of students, and someone will be named randomly as the teacher of that room. So they're going to have to work together. Talking about random numbers of people, I'm going to structure it in such a way that people are not clicked up together with likely their friends and their neighbors.
Right.
They're going to be with people that they don't know and have to, it's that real uncomfortable. That unto itself will be uncomfortable. Never mind the situation that we're going to replicate. So there'll be plenty of opportunity for this to be clearly explained before anything is done. So there's no worry about what to expect. It will all be known. Then the scenarios will be a challenge, will be uncomfortable. Then there'll be an opportunity for follow-up right in that room with that officer, and there'll be a full-scale debriefing afterwards with everybody, and then time available afterwards. People want to stay longer and talk. There'll be counseling staff on hand that we'll have in case there are people who have, again, some, whatever medical condition, they want to talk to somebody, this has upset them. We'll have staff on hand, we'll have EMTs on hand during that time, just in case anything. We don't expect that to be the case, but we want to think this through for the safety of our staff as they do this training. So, yeah, it is not intended to be for students.
Does any member bring new business tonight? Does any member bring old business?
I actually, Mr. Chairman, probably new business. I wanted to it's just an update for the committee so that no one's caught by surprise for this. Imagine Learning is a program that Jen Lancaster, our ELL staff, students, and teachers use They've invited Jen Lancaster to attend a training symposium type event that's happening. It's at no cost to the district, no cost to Jen, but where there is, they're paying her airfare and her, I'm not even sure the event, I want to say it's in Arizona, or it's in Provo, Utah. And so we've detailed this. I spoke to town council about this to make sure that we're with conflict of interest, to make sure we have a vendor that we're working with. So we vetted that completely, town council and I did, and we put that all together. So I had the full disclosure here on file. I just wanted to make sure that it was publicly known that I'm supporting Jen attending this trip. There's not from town council's perspective and my perspective, there's not any conflict of interest with her attending that. There's no expense for it. I want to just make sure the committee knew about that. I'm not sure a vote is necessary, but perhaps I could ask the committee to take one, just where it's an out-of-state travel.
Would you, when is the trip?
The trip, I can put it on a future agenda. The trip is coming up in, I apologize.
No, that's okay. Oh, if we don't need to vote on it tonight, if you could please include it as distribution, we can
Sure.
vote on it next week.
It's
March 25th.
March 25th. So I think we'll be coming together again before.
We'll be here next
Yeah.
week, so.
So I'll put them on the agenda for an approval for out-of-state, and then you can review the details yourself as well.
Great.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have no executive session this evening, so if I can take a motion from Rob, a second from Mike, all in favor of adjournment, opposed, unanimous in favor. Thank you very much, everyone.